Okay, so it's Mark Sheridan and John Paul Andre and Murray Lincoln again, and this is actually our fifth Zoom call to talk about caricature carving. So thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to do a few things, and I'm going to start by just sharing a screen here. So let's see if we can pass that hurdle. Everybody see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so a quick welcome from myself and John. We're really enjoying this, and again, it's just a means to get us thinking about caricature carving when we can't get together physically. But our hope is soon that we'll be able to do that. It doesn't look like we're going to have any major sessions face-to-face this year, but hopefully next year we'll be able to get together and turn these Zoom calls into something where we move around from place to place and just pick up the folks that have been participating in these Zoom calls. Tonight's discussion, again, we've earmarked about an hour and a half. We don't have to be here an hour and a half, but we've got that much time contracted with Murray here. We're going to start by just opening it up for questions and comments again. So we've actually covered quite a bit over these 5 sessions that we've had. And so, you know, anything from our first discussions on how to come up with ideas to our last few discussions on that John led on carving the face and head and anything in between. We'll just open up for any questions you have, and then we'll get back into the carving the face and head. So that's what John's planned to do tonight. He's set up a couple of cameras for us, you can see, and we're going to continue to work on the carving of the face and head that we started, I guess, a couple of sessions ago. Last time we were together, I talked about attaching additions, whether it's an arm or whatever you're attaching to your caricature carving. And the idea behind attaching things to a caricature carving is to keep the caricature carving strong, so that you could always keep the grain going in the appropriate direction. The carving is going to be as strong as it possibly can be. I'll be continuing that discussion tonight, and we're going to use the same method of attaching additions to create a hat. And so we'll spend a few minutes talking about that. So Murray, do you want to remind us a little bit about how to manage Zoom?
Yes, the first thing I'd like to ask you to do, same old thing, is the word chat down at the bottom of your Zoom window. Click on that, and you'll see a thing come up on the right-hand side of your screen. Write your name, your telephone number, and your email. Okay, the second thing is, and this is a request on behalf of our magazine. I'm just assembling it right now and looking for input from carvers everywhere. So if you carved something over this last 6 months, 8 months, whatever, even since you started these caricature carving sessions, you created something, please take a photo of it and send it to me with a little paragraph in an email. We're going to put it in the magazine. I'm assembling the magazine right now. It'll be ready within about a week and a half. We hope to print it by the end of August, so it'll go out by end of September. This last time around, the issue was kind of a nightmare, because as soon as we submitted it to the printer went about and did everything perfectly well and submitted over to the Mississauga Gateway. And right then is when they shut down a major section of it for COVID. And so people now received the magazine. Actually, some of them just recently contacted me and thanked me for the magazine they just received. So it's a little bit of a problem. We have a issue there with mailing sometimes. So if you can do that, it would be great. I'd love to get a picture from you and about what you've carved so far. Hopefully everybody's going to try what John Paul's suggesting, what Mark's suggesting. And I know it's affected my carving in a big way. So I've got some caricatures coming out, and it's been kind of fun. Really changing my perspective of things, I'll tell you, big time.
Good. That's good.
Okay, Mark, where you go?
Okay, thanks, Murray. So the first thing on the agenda is just to open it up to any questions that you might have on anything that we've covered over the last 5 sessions, or any comments that you had or have. Just open it up.
I just have a question for John Paul.
Yes, sir.
In the last video, John, you were talking about the head pattern from Lynn. Is it somewhere online, or I was watching his video. He does have, like, he goes through the carving tutorial, but I didn't see the pattern. Is it somewhere that I can grab it from online?
Yeah, it was in the magazine, wasn't it, last week, Murray, or last time?
Yes, we placed them in the magazine, but not everybody would get the magazine unless they're an
Oh.
individual member. So perhaps the president of your club, if you're in a club, would get it. If not, if you could contact me by email, I could send the patterns to you.
Sure.
It's murray.lincoln@gmail.com. MURRAY .Lincoln as in a car and a president and all the rich things @gmail.com.
Thank you. I shall send you an
I'll
email.
write that on the chat here just to, you see it right now.
Now, Furtis, were you saying that you were able to get lit to Lynn Doughty's YouTube channel or website? You were able to do that?
Yeah, I can, like, his website, his YouTube channel, I can go through that.
Okay.
But it's just a pattern I was kind of wondering.
Yeah, and so, I wish I knew off the top of my head Lynn's website. I know it's Out West Wood Carving dot, I think it's Blogspot or something. But if you went to that, I think he has all of the individual patterns there still as well.
Okay, I shall check it out. Thank you.
You go on Pinterest, there's a great deal of patterns as of late, I've noticed. Some for the head and some for the body and for busts and a number of other things. So try looking at Pinterest.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions before we turn it over to John? Okay, John, it's all yours.
All right, does anybody have anything done yet we can look at? Is anybody working on something? Okay, Daniel. That's a nice nose, Daniel.
Isn't that a beat? I gotta work on that yet.
Yeah, that's a good one.
If you can, as you hold it up, continue to talk and just the rest of you be quiet, then we can see it. Otherwise, every time somebody jumps into it, go ahead.
No problem. Anyways, I've got to work on the nose for sure.
Yeah.
But I think what I learned with this was carving the ears. I know they're a little large, but that was I think that was the biggest accomplishment for me was the ears. And also I'm starting to get a little bit better with the eyes.
Yeah.
I'm working on it anyways.
See where you put that cheek, remember we talked about last time, you put that little cheek crease in there?
Yep.
The little crease?
Mhm.
You're way too early for that. Way too early.
All right. Yeah.
Like you don't put any detail at all until you have everything in place. Everything like this one here.
Rookie move.
Yeah. So it's gotta be like this, smooth, right?
Okay.
And no detail at all. It's coming right now.
Yeah.
But I gotta get everything in place on my nose, where the eyes are, the forehead, the chin, get all the roundness, then start detail. It's hard to, you want to put the detail in, but you got to get the base in first, the basement in.
Okay, that's something I'll work with.
Yeah. Anybody else?
So I just tried, before I watched John's video, I tried this head just as a practice. It's probably not the way that you have done, but
Well, it's close, but like it's a lot of people do is they go to the detail too early.
correct.
You want to get all the proportions in right.
Yeah.
And then start with the detail.
Right.
Looks like you started a little early.
Yes.
It looks good though.
No, you got all the right elements there for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I just, this is not a head, but just a Santa I tried.
Oh, that's better. That's better. That's really good.
I have one
Yeah, Harvey. Yeah.
right here.
Oh, nice. Yeah. One suggestion, you see the ears? The ears
Yes.
are It should be where the face is, should be right smooth. There shouldn't be any line there unless you're putting, so this should be
Oh,
right here.
that's a piece of, that's a bad piece in the wood.
Mhm.
But see where the ear is?
Yes.
See, it's right flush to the head.
Yeah, John, when you're speaking, we only see your face. So if you want us to see your carving, you'll have to hold it up to that camera that you're speaking into.
Oh, geez.
Yeah,
You can't see me at all right now?
I can see your face, John,
Yeah, not
Oh.
your work.
not your hands. So just so when you're describing, your head to everybody right now, just hold the head up in front of your face.
Oh,
There we go.
okay, I gotta look for my face now. Oh, there we
Oh,
are.
you got her. Yeah.
So you couldn't see the other side, the other picture, the other camera.
Because you're talking, John, it picks up that camera.
So I gotta stop talking.
So it's mean that I need to have more of a crease in by the ear?
No, it's gonna be flush, right? It's got, look
Oh, it
at
has
your
to be
wife's
flush.
ear. Yeah,
Yep.
see, you got it like a ring that's around this, right?
Yes,
You want that flat. Look
gotcha,
at my ear, it's that, you know?
gotcha.
Yeah, you got
Thank
like
you.
a round circle there.
Now, the thing about Harvey's, Harvey, if you just hold it up to the camera again, and I'll stop talking in a minute, but when I stop talking, Harvey can say something, it'll go back to his camera. But the nice thing about where you located your ear and the start of your eye, you've left a lot of room for a sideburn, and that's important, because I know the first few I did, I had the ear too far forward and I had no room for the sideburn hair coming down. So Harvey,
for
if you just
sure.
say something, it'll go back to you.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah,
I was
other
wondering
than
about
that,
the ears.
Harvey, the ears are looking good. The nose, you can, to work on, you're doing a detail a little early again. So you want it more, where are we?
Yeah.
So you got your nostril out here. It's more into the face, your nostril.
Okay,
Yeah. So you have to work on that a little bit, bring it back into the face.
okay,
Looks good though. That's a good one.
Yeah.
thank you.
Welcome. Anybody else?
I've been practicing something else, putting faces on golf balls.
Oh, yeah.
And just not to let him look terribly lonesome. I don't know whether you can see that or not. The light's too
Yeah.
bright.
Pull it back towards your face.
Yeah, back up a bit.
Yeah, there you are.
Down. Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
This
You have
guy's
a hard time taking the plastic off?
no, it just takes a little practice. It's probably the hardest part of carving these things is getting that
Yeah.
piece off the top half, but
Yeah.
a little 1/8 inch screwdriver and go around 3 times and it'll pop loose.
Mm.
Just make sure you're wearing a glove on the hand holding the golf ball. Because if that screwdriver slips, you get a gouge out of a screwdriver, you'll find out it's a lot friendlier to have it with a knife.
Anybody else? Got anything?
Yeah, I have one.
Yep.
I've just got it coming along. It's just starting here. It's
Yep,
not
very
very far
good.
along. Not too
That looks
far
good.
along.
Yeah. Okay, at the back of the neck. Let
Okay,
me see.
yeah,
See, oh. You see this side. This side is the better
okay.
side. See, I got it like that
I see, yeah, you
Would
got
be-
it.
underneath the ear. And the jawline, and the neck is smaller.
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah, okay, yeah. All right, neck is smaller. All right,
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
All right. Good
Looks
to know.
good.
Anything else you can suggest?
No, you're getting there. Your nose can be, see the nose?
Yeah,
Almost looks like mine a bit. And you want, I'm gonna doing everything opposite. So you want this nicer and round. See, you got yours a little
yeah,
flat
mine is
in the
still
middle.
squared off. If you see from that
Yeah.
angle there, it's still too square. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a mouth mound that's supposed to be rounded.
Yeah. The mound. Yep.
Yeah, great. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Now, similar
Here's a
to,
work in progress.
Who's
You can sort
calling?
of see.
Where's that at? Oh, there, down there, Kevin Reed.
Yep.
Very good.
Just it's got a lot to do about up in here too. The ears kind of causing me some issues,
Yeah,
but
you're a little too far back.
oh, too far back. Yeah, I guess they are. Now that you
Yeah.
say that, look like dog ears. Turn them this way.
he's just,
yeah,
he's
you could-
just in a heavy wind, that's all. Just in a heavy
Yeah, he's
wind.
got a windy day. Got his ears
Thanks.
pinned back. Oh, Kevin, put that back up again.
Sure.
See your ear. Oh, where's mine? Oh, it's only over there. You could probably cut that off and start it. You can have the ear there again. You know, you still got room there to put the ear in.
Oh, okay.
I would
Yeah.
cut those ears right off, that back piece off, and start the ear again, closer to the face, or closer to the middle.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you got lots of room there.
All right. Thank you.
Now, the other thing you could do in that case is just like John was saying, if you cut the ear off and you cut it on a flat plane, just glue a couple pieces of wood on there. Just glue a couple pieces of wood, and then you got some meat for the ear again.
Yeah. So
When
how
you're
am I
doing,
gonna?
I was going to just say, when you're doing the ears, I always like the ears as much as possible to be sticking out, to really fan out. And so, John's earlier comment on some of the carvings, it looked as if this part of the ear actually had a ridge to it. Well, that's just a good opportunity to cut that portion down, and that automatically makes the back of the ear come out further. So,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Any more projects on the go? Quiet crowd.
mhm. Okay, so as you get carving, John, I'm just trying to think here whether you have to sign off on this one and keep your other one going. So we just see your hands.
Oh, okay.
I think that might be the case. What do you say, Murray?
What's happening is I'm recording it. I have both John's, John Paul Andre on the screen and John's iPad on the screen. So the recording is going to have both there, but when John starts to show us how to carve, I'll click on that one so you can, what everybody can do is when John goes to carve and you want to see his hands, go to that particular picture. If you know what I'm talking about, the screen will show his hands working. Go there and pin that. Touch the three little dots and pin it.
Okay.
That will make just John's hands showing. And we'll get rid of John's face in just a minute.
Well, let's see if we can do that. See if everybody can do that.
I like cutting you in pieces, just like cutting those ears off,
There you go. Okay, so I'm going to go up to the screen. I see John's hands and carving, and I'm going to pin it. So on my screen, when I look at that screen, there's a little blue box in the top right-hand corner. If I click on that, it says chat or pin. I'm going to push pin, and that'll keep that view up on my computer while John talks. So give that a try, everyone.
Everybody got that?
Works for me.
Oh, yeah, okay. Everybody got it?
Let's see some blood.
Blood. So the lighting's good, Mark?
Yeah, it looks really good, John.
Okay, good. Okay. So we were talking about putting the eyes in. Let's put the eyes in right now. Oh, I need a pencil. Oh. Oh, there it is. I just dropped it. All right. Like what Lynn does is a round circle. And we can see that. I'll draw a round circle, but I want that eye to go into the eyebrow a bit. So it's not below the eye or below the eyebrow. I want it in with the eyebrow. So what I'm going to do, I'll leave this like not done. So I'll bring that right in. Let's see if we get it. Go right around it. And then when I take the wood away from the bottom underneath it, so the raises the eye.
I'll just do a little color commentating here while you're
Yeah,
doing it, John.
yeah.
So although John, is talking about that circle and cutting out as an eye, he's actually cutting the whole eye socket out. So think of it as the entire, that fleshy part, that eye socket. And so the bottom of what he's carving is basically going to become your lower eyelid. Your eyeball is going to be within what John is carving. He's basically carving out the entire socket and making it protrude.
So now you see it's raised. It's a raised eyeball, right? Like if you look at your own eye, it's raised, right? It's above your cheek. It's raised. So now I want to take, here's the center line, center line of the eye, and I want the eye to be in that half. I want that in the back of the head. So I'm going to round this off. Well, when I get to this side of the eye, I want it deeper, and I'll show you in a second. And then round that off. Keep on rounding off, but this side I want it more shallow. This half of the eye. But on the other side, towards that you want the side of the head, you want that deeper. I'll take that line out of there. Now now you can see, where am I here? You can see the head, the eyes in the back of the side of the head. Everybody see that? It's not flat. It's not flat against the face. You can see it on the side profile. You want to be able to see the eye, half round of the eye. And just make that round. I'm just taking a little bits of wood off. Just sliding my knife on there. And clean out like what I do, I make sure this spot here, this whole eyeball is perfectly carved. I'm not going back. I want this nice and smooth, no little burrs. While you're here, you might as well just do it and make sure it's clean. That's how I do it. Now, see what I mean by the eye in the back of this, or the side of the head. Now, I'll do the other side. See the eyebrow here? I got one eyebrow a little higher than this one. It's more of a puzzled look or a curious look. So what I do, when I do the circle here, I bring it right into the eyebrow a bit. I draw that. Maybe a little lower, second. And match the other side. So to do the same thing, I'm gonna outline that shape with my knife. Go into the eyebrow a bit. And go underneath to raise that eyeball. And now I go from this is a halfway point here of the eye. I bring that halfway. I carve it this way on this side. So I want that to be in the back of the head. And I find I got to take a little more off the back. Then on this side, I do this way. Everybody seeing the round circles here? I'm gonna play with it a little bit here, just very thin cuts, really thin, just to get that shape.
Hello?
No detail yet until I get
Yeah.
those roundness, the roundness of the.
Hello? Yes.
Okay. I am so upset, so that's why I need to talk to someone. Remember I told you the kid next door, Tyler's kid?
Yeah.
Murray, you just want to mute your screen there,
Yeah.
okay?
Just a second, Bachelor. I'll have to talk to you later.
Oh, okay.
All right,
I'll
call me
talk
at
to you
8
tomorrow.
o'clock.
Oh, okay, you can call me. Oh, no, I'll be outside water the vegetable.
Okay, well, call me,
Call
you
me
know.
tomorrow.
Okay, all right. Yeah, bye.
Hi. We all should have said goodbye.
Yeah.
We had a whole crowd at his house.
Just a comment here, John Paul, as you're working on that, just
Yep.
as an artistic thing, should you goof up, simply think about putting a patch over the eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm just slowly, getting that round and making sure everything's clean before I do any detail. So there you go. It's ready for detail now.
Now, one of the things, Lynn Doughty has mentioned in his carving style to end up with where John is right now is he imagines that he's basically carving like aviator glasses on sitting on the nose. And so if you look at what John's done so far, if he took a pencil and went around, the two mounds he just carved, they almost look like aviator glasses, right?
Right.
So that's what you're shooting for at this point, is to have something that looks balanced and a little bit like aviator's glasses and rounded, as John is rounding them like little mounds.
Yeah. And going back and forth until I'm satisfied before I do any detail. I want to make sure I'm very satisfied with what I got done so far. And I wasn't, so now I am. Okay, now I'm happy. Now it all depends which way you want them to face. I like putting a line, and I want him to face this way. So I split the eye in half. And then the top, I just bring it up a bit, and like that. I don't know if you can see that. So what I do, I go across the top first, and I bring that cut up to that knife cut I just did.
So again, what John's doing right now is he's forming the eyeball within the eyelid. Those mounds he made was the full eyelid, top eyelid, bottom eyelid, and now he's cut a slit and he's forming the round eyeball within that, right?
Yeah. So now I got the top eyelid in. So now I'm going to do the bottom eyelid. So I went up that eyeball to that line where I cut into. Now I want to do the bottom. So I draw a line like that, and I go down to that. And right here, I find that it's not deep enough here, so I'm going to cut this out a bit. Place that eye in the back more. Yeah, there we go.
And John,
Yep.
it's Daniel here again. You're gently carving the inner, like the eyeball itself. You're carving lines towards the top and towards the bottom to make
Yep.
it a sphere. Is that correct?
Right. So now the eyeballs, I got the upper eyelid, I got the
Right.
lower eyelid, and I got the eyeball.
Gotcha.
So now I just gonna clean that up a bit. It's pretty tiny, but now you see when I'm looking this way, this guy's gonna be looking, oh, where are we here? Looking this way, his eye will be over here, his pupil. Even bigger. Right in this corner, right in that corner, I take a little chip out of there. And it gives it a nice depth and a roundness to that eyeball. So put a little chip right there. Take a little, that corner out. Because when you're looking sideways, the eyeball is bigger over here. Over here, you're stretching your eyeball. So this little corner, right in that corner next to your nose, is smaller. So you want to put a little notch there. Take that corner out. If you you want it to look round anyhow.
Yeah, I think that's that's the point that Daniel was making earlier as well. Like you've opened up that initial mound to put a sphere in there, to put a ball in there. That's the
Right.
eyeball. And so the eyeball has to be round from the top to the bottom, but it has to be round left to right as well. And so that's how you made it round left to right, near his nose. You really dug it in quite deeply there.
Yeah. And because he's looking this way, like when you look that way, your eye is bigger on this side than this side. If he was looking straight on, I would put notches on both sides. So now it's really rounded. But because he's looking this way, you got to have the bulge on this side, the bigger part. You see how that goes like that? Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Let's do the other side. Same thing. Draw a line. And draw a line up. Oh, a little too high.
Now, that orange carving to your right on the table, you've got it, those eyes are wide open, so you don't have the
Yeah.
lid showing?
No, I just made the ball. It's a toothpick holder. Yeah, he's scared. Like, look at I got a spider on his nose.
Perfect.
I can see the damn thing. There we go. So he's looking at the spider. Oh, like, and this guy here, I got his eyes.
Very mysterious. He's looking off into the distance. Looking
Yeah.
at
This guy, same. I don't know why I'm looking backwards here. But with this side, you can see it maybe. On these corners, he's looking this way. On these corners, I cut that in a little bit to make this side bigger and then that side. So it looks like he's really stretching his eye.
Now, key to this, John, too, is to be sure that you get both sides the same. Otherwise,
Right.
they're cross-eyed or wall-eyed or whatever.
Right. So I'm gonna do the bottom, the second one. So I'm gonna go up from there.
real important to have a sharp knife.
Yeah, very sharp. I just did it. So I just put the upper in. Now I'm gonna put the lower in. So I'm gonna you go down from there. So the same thing on this corner where it's stretched. This side is looking that way. I'm going to take a little corner, a little notch out of there in that corner. Oh, I got a tea delivered. Thank you, sister.
You're welcome.
And I'm just cleaning this up with a really sharp knife. Just clean this, make it nice and round.
I think I just saw Ken drinking your tea.
Yeah, that was done. So put a eyeball there. And a lot of times what happens to your eye too, when you're looking this way, this side, because your eye is stretched, will be indented right here. You'll have a little, it'll be less eye, the skin above your eye. So what I do sometimes, I put a little scoop out of there, take a little scoop. It really emphasizes the eyes looking this way. So I take a little scoop like that. And now you can put bags under the eye, some wrinkles. So I'll do this side. Just cut a little bit. Every time you want to raise something, you want to go underneath it first. Raise it up. And go from the top down. Yeah, like that.
Looking good.
Yeah. So, and two here, like where your eye is, there's a little indentation here. You want a little, scoop that out. And I still have room to put eyebrow or sideburns or something like that. I can put a sideburn right here. But I want to do that. Get that eye in first. So I got the sideburn here. A lot of people put the hair really thick. You know, it next to the face, it's very thin. It's just hair, right? So sometimes it's too thick. And I would just keep on rounding it out. Let's say these sharp edges, take all these sharp edges off. You know. Any questions?
That was really good, John. Thank you.
Welcome. So just keep on, well, but when I do, look, I'm not taking big gouges, I'm taking little slivers off. I'm just taking little slivers. Like I taught people where they said, you know, that they can't, they don't have a lot of strength, but look how much I'm taking off. Like you don't have to be a big tough guy and just Take a little bit at a time until that's round. It's not hard. Any questions?
That looks good, John. Now, did you want to leave it there and let people go away and work at that for a month and come back with their eyes and then take us to the next piece?
So I said that when you're carving a cowboy head
Yeah.
or something with a hat on it, do you still push the forehead like further down like what you've done in this carving?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Yeah. I think Marco, you were going to talk about hats too, weren't you, Mark?
Yeah, yeah. We'll show you an example of that
We're
first.
going to touch. We'll touch on base on.
Yeah.
But this guy here, well, you look at Lynn Dowdy, it's the same idea, same technique that he uses. He cuts the top of the head off and draws the top of the head onto the the brim, then carves into that brim and puts that head inside the brim. And then the same thing on top. You put, this is a separate piece. So that I put that on the brim of the hat on the top and I draw around it and I dig into that. So this goes inside the hat. So it's not sitting on top of the hat, it's sitting inside. So it looks like it's sitting on his head.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll go into a little bit of that detail next.
Yeah. But yeah. Try
Okay,
it. Try
really
this
good.
technique. Try it and see how it everybody makes out with it. But he's turned up to be a good looking guy.
Yeah, yeah. And so if everybody kind of took a stab at the eyes and even if you start another head, take a few practice shots at doing the eyes. It's the toughest part of the face. So don't be disappointed that you're gonna take a few attempts at it.
Another thing too, if you got a little scrap piece of wood, do the same thing. Just make, a couple cuts, like a platform where the eye is going to be. And I usually see where that, this is another technique I use too. I'll make two triangles like this, and then I'll put the top, this is my middle of the eye. So now I'll go above it like that. And underneath that cut. And I'll show you what I do. So I'm going to go quickly. So you have a scrap piece of wood like this, and just carve a bunch of eyes. That's all it is, a triangle back and forth. So now I'm just going to go underneath it to raise that eyeball. Now it's raised, right? So now I'm going to take the edge off of there. So basically now I got exactly the ball again, right? Just a piece of scrap. So now I'm going to go across the top. I'll bring that up to there, that line. Now I'm going to go underneath. A line. Go down to that line. Now we got an eye.
Can you hold that a little close to the screen, please?
Yeah. There's which way.
Yeah.
You mainly do it off the corners, John?
Yeah, that's a corner. Yeah. but you can do in the middle.
That's what I'm wondering.
This thing is that now I can take that little corner out and it'll be even rounder. Second arrow. Clean this up a little bit.
Yep.
Just practice like that and do the same thing. All it is a triangle. Now, right where that triangle meets, that'll be the upper and lower eyelid. That'll be right in the middle. So I'm going to go upper and lower. Now round that off and do the same thing. Run like this, then put the pencil like that, and underneath, and you put the eyeball, so it'll be like this.
Good, thank you.
Okay. Just take a piece of wood and do 10. That's your homework for this week, this month. I want 10 eyeballs. Each bring 10 eyeballs back.
Yeah, send us your mailing address. Thank you, John. That was really good. Okay, we're going to take the next step before we close and just talking about adding a hat to the face or to the head now. So here's where I went with the carving I started with John. All right, and we're going to tonight we're going to just talk about that hat. So it's exactly what Furtis was asking about. How do you add the hat to the head? Okay, everybody see that okay? So while I'm showing you this, sorry, somebody made a comment? Okay, while I'm showing you this, I'm just going to try to show you the eye here. And you can see this guy's eyes were made exactly the way John just described. Okay, so you can see the lower lid and the upper lid, and then the slit in between with that ball, that eyeball in between. All right, so it's a little bit deeper than the one John did. The lower lid is a little bit deeper than the one John did, and the upper lid is a little bit higher, but it's always the same process. And you just determine how big an upper eyelid and lower eyelid you want to make. Okay? But it just as John was saying, when you turn it sideways, you can see his eye. You can see his eyeball there.
Yep.
Okay? Everybody see that okay? Okay. What I'm going to do then is go back to this presentation and share screen. Can everyone see that screen? Okay. All right, so let's talk about adding a hat. Now, a hat can be any number of kind of configurations. In this case, it's kind of like an old fedora. This guy was in the wind, so the front of the fedora is pulled up. But in every hat that I make, and in every hat or the hat that we're going to talk about tonight, it follows the same fashion that Lynn Dowdy demonstrates in his YouTube videos and on his website. And that is this, that you want the brim of the hat with the green going in the long direction this way, because that brim of the hat's going to get fairly thin as you're carving. If you had the green of the direction of the brim in this direction here, it would snap off in no time at all, right? And so you want the green going in the lengthwise direction. The crown, even though it's kind of bulky, it's best to have the crown with the green of the direction in this direction. Okay, and so you'll see that in all of the hats that we take a look at here. Now, this is a different type of hat. Because it's just a cap, you can get away with only doing the hat in one direction of the green. So the green in this direction goes from his forehead to the back of his head. And again, that direction of green was chosen so that this brim wouldn't snap off. So this brim got fairly delicate, fairly thin, and you don't want it snapping off. So the grain is coming out of the screen to you, okay? But it's the same process to make this hat as I'm going to show you that I made the previous hat. So this hat, obviously, you needed to really worry about the grain. So again, the brim of the hat, including this band here, goes from the front of his face to the back of his face. So it goes in this direction. The crown of his hat goes in this direction. And you can see like this little embellishment here, this little feather on top, even the crest that's carved into the front. You'd want the grain going in that direction. Okay, just easier to carve, and you end up with a stronger structure too. So here's an example of 3 different types of hats. So you have the Admiral, the Cowboy, and the Padre here. Same idea. You have the grain of the hat. The grain of the hat in the Cowboy's instance here is going from the front of his face to the back. That's the brim. The crown is going up and down. The Padre crown is going up and down. The brim of the hat just happens to go front to back. And this one, the grain goes in this direction here for the whole hat. Because the top of the hat, even though it got thin, there's a gap between those 2 pieces. There's still quite a bit of material in there. It's unlikely that would break. Okay, and I think this is the final shot I have is a straw hat. Same thing. The brim of the hat, the grain of the direction went in this direction. The crown of the hat went in this direction. Okay, so that's the first thing you want to do is think about the hat that you're going to make. How thin is the brim going to be? What is the best direction for that brim from a strength standpoint? Okay, so getting back to what Fertus's earlier question was, how do you start with something like that? Well, this is what my carving looked like before I put the hat on. Okay, and so I added in a little bit of a sideburn. I added in a little bit of hair on top. It's exactly the pattern that John started off with us. I got to those bangs because I carved in pretty deeply between the brow and the bang, and that produced the hair. Okay, and so that's what it started off by looking like. And again, just to take a minute, it's exactly what John just showed us from an eyeball standpoint. So that first circle that John made is this right here, right up to the brow and right below this baggy eye. So that was the whole start of the whole thing, was drawing that in and then rounding that out in a mound. And then I cut out the eyeball here and then rounded the eyeball. Okay, so it's exactly what John showed you. So how do you put a hat on? As John was saying, you're not trying to fit the hat around the head. You're just parking the hat on top of the head. So take a fine saw, even a regular hand saw will do it, and you cut off on an angle the top of the head just above the ear. I probably cut off about an 1/8 of an inch above the ear, remembering that when I put the hat on, the hat is going to be carved underneath, so the whole thing sinks over the existing head that you've got. And what that does is it makes it look like the head is fit right up into the hat. It's not just sitting plainly on top of the hat isn't sitting just plainly on top of the head. Okay, so I just take a fine saw. If you decide to use a bandsaw, I wouldn't recommend that at all. But if you do, make sure that it is very, very secure and you've got that jigged up very well rather. I think you guys all know if you put something round on a bandsaw, it's going to catch and it's going to turn. You don't want your hand anywhere near that. So that's one of the reasons. That's the main reason why I use a handsaw. And if you get a fine handsaw like this, it'll make a nice smooth cut for you. If you use a regular handsaw, the cut will be a little bit rougher, but you can sand that down on a disc sander just by hand. Okay. And so that's what it looked like. So I cut it off. I put it on a disc sander just to smooth it out a little bit. And then I just made a little mark where I was going to drill a hole for a dowel. And so you remember when we talked about drilling holes for dowels the last time around making attachments, the reason you did that was so that every time you place the attachment on the carving, as you're carving and trying to get the mating surfaces close together, you're putting it back in exactly the same place. The other reason is that when you finally go to glue the attachment onto your carving, if you don't have that dowel in place, those two mated surfaces are going to slide. When you go to clamp it, they're going to slide and you're not going to be happy with the outcome. So that dowel just keeps it in place. All right. So the dowel is there for initially carving and making sure that you're always locating it in the same place. And the dowel, the second reason, is there when you clamp it, it doesn't slide side to side or laterally. Okay. All right, and then you just make a little pattern. And so, you know, I just took the top of the head that I cut and I traced around on a piece of paper at the very top here what that profile looked like. And I made a little arrow to show the direction of where the forehead is. And then just underneath it, I made sure that I made a crown that was going to fit over that direction. So if you took a ruler and just came down here, you know that that crown is going to fit over that head. You don't want the crown to be smaller than the head, of course. And then I thought to myself, well, I'll make I was thinking kind of like a farmer's hat, not necessarily a cowboy hat, but like an Indiana Jones hat. And so I just made the front a little bit higher on the brim. This is a side view of the brim. And I made it straight across on the bottom. Wish I hadn't. When I did go to the bandsaw to cut this out, in fact, I made this a little bit more concave, so a little nice curve on it, so it'd look a little droopier. I could have made it look droopier than it turned out, but that's what I got. And then I drew the same picture with looking at the front of the hat. So what is the front of the crown going to look like? Making sure that this dimension is going to fit ear to ear type of thing on his head. And then the bottom of the crown, I knew that the top or bottom of the brim, I knew that the brim was going to wave like that. Wasn't sure how much I was going to undercut it yet, so I just showed it as square to cut it off on the bandsaw. And then this is the top view, the bird's eye view of the brim. And so the front of the brim is here, a little narrower, and a broader brim at the back. Okay, so, you know, you just kind of come up with an idea for your own hat, what you'd like it to look like, draw it up, and then go to your bandsaw and cut out two pieces, the brim and the crown. Okay, everybody understand that okay?
Yep.
Okay, and that's what it looked like. So it was no fancier than that. So, you know, the crown is basically at right angles here. If I wanted to get fancy, I guess I could have put the table of the bandsaw at an angle and cut this so that the top of the crown was smaller than the bottom, but it really doesn't matter. It's not very much carving to do to get that contour. And then the brim ends up looking like this. So I have the pattern of the brim at the bottom, the bird's eye view. And then this top portion is the top of the brim that I showed you in the previous picture, this here. And so that's what the two pieces came out looking like. Okay. Everybody understand that okay? Again, the green of the crown is going in this direction. The green of the brim is going in this direction. And then I used a jig that actually John made me a number of years ago. And this jig is just 3 pieces of wood. You know, here's the plate at the bottom, a little backstop, and there's another piece under here that fits over the ledge of your work table and allows you to put, you know, anything you're working at. I use it certainly for hats. It allows me to put the brim of the hat here and with very little effort, be able to use a gouge against it, pushing against here, the brim's not going anywhere, your hands are out of the way. Okay, and so I just started carving. You kind of have to watch the grain of the wood because this is a convex surface here. And so cutting it in this direction, you're going to be cutting it in the right direction of the grain. If you turn that around and try to plow up, you're going to be against the grain and you're going to start splitting the wood. So it's a matter of just seeing where the wood is hanging up and then just turning it 180 degrees and continuing to carve. Okay. And you just keep carving away until you get that sort of nice dished look that you're looking for at the top of the brim of the hat. Now, I didn't go too deep because I wasn't sure just how thin I wanted the brim of the hat yet. And I wasn't sure how far I wanted the crown sitting in, but I knew it had to be dished out a little bit. So you can go ahead and take quite a bit of wood away from that. And as you can imagine, this is a very, very quick process to do this. It takes no time at all.
Just remind them about the stopper underneath the fixture. So
Yep.
it lands on the table. It doesn't move ahead.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it doesn't have to, you don't have to worry about holding it. The table's holding it.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Okay. And so at that point, I have my cut off head. I've got the brim carved out a little bit. You can see this top portion, the scooped out portion is what you saw in the previous picture where I was scooping out the bottom. I was able then with a knife to just come around and start rounding the outside a little bit. But you can still see how thick this hat is. You can see from the outside of the brim to the inside of the brim, still really thick. I drilled that hole into the head, top of the head that I showed you I indicated a little bit later. I had about a 3/16 inch dowel. So I located that hole against this brim, drilled through the brim, and then located the crown against the brim and drilled through that. So now I was able to stack the three up and have them all in the same place. Okay. And that's what it started out by looking like. So you can see that the brim of the hat, there's still a lot of wood in there. You know, this is the bottom of the brim. The inside of the brim is probably way up here. I didn't cut it back too far yet. The dowel you can't see, but it's starting about here and going down into the head. And you can see it is just sitting flat on top of the flat saw cut that I made. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the bottom of that brim with a pencil, just go around the head with a pencil so it leaves a mark on the bottom of the brim. And I'm going to initially hollow that out maybe by a 1/16 of an inch or so. But as you hollow that out and continue to hollow it out, the hat drops down further and further and further until it approaches the ear. Okay. And then you get that sense when you look at it that it's not a hat sitting on top of a flat head. It's a hat that's actually covered all the hair. Okay. Follow that okay?
Yep.
All right. And so when you're at that point, your hat starts looking like this. You're starting to hollow it out a little bit. You can see the dowel there. You can see the hole where the dowel fits. This is where I use that lead process that Lynn Doughty introduced to me in a video.
Yeah, that works good, doesn't it? That really works well.
Yeah, I find it really works well. So if you do a good job of leading that up with a very soft lead, when you put the top of the hat and the dowel on it, give it a little bit of a wiggle, you end up leaving all of these little marks. And those marks are just telling you these are the high points. Then I take a very small gouge and I just carve out those high points. And as soon as I carve out those high points and put that top of the hat back on the top of the head, give it another wiggle, it'll produce some more marks. And you just keep doing that until you're tired of doing it. But at some point, you'll be happy with the way that that's sitting on the top of the head.
Just
It's a little bit like going to the dentist.
Yeah, less expensive though.
Probably less painful too.
Mark, I didn't have any soft lead, so I went to Amazon and they sent me it looks just like a crayon, but it's a 6B very soft lead for doing that, and it works well.
Oh, that's great.
You can get it into Amazon.
Perfect. Yeah. How expensive was that?
$6.
Oh, geez, nothing, eh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah, it works really well. Yeah, you know, and you'll notice here, and you might see it in the next picture, there's a little mark, a little pencil mark I put at the top, the front of the brim. There's a corresponding mark on his forehead. So I know that I'm always lining it up the same way, right? And so when I'm chasing these high spots, I don't want to be moving all over the place. I want that lined up with the front, then I know it's always situated in the same way. And then that's about where I quit. And so at this point I said, all right, that now no longer looks like it's sitting on top of the head. It looks like it's a hat that's surrounding the head. Looks like you can imagine that the hair continues and the forehead continues underneath the hat. And so that's where I stopped. And so at that point, it was time to start fitting the crown. And so as I start to fit the crown, you know, if you wanted to get real granular about it, you could start marking the top of the brim and seeing where the high points are on the crown. But you can eyeball this pretty easily too. You can see quite a bit has to come off of the side of each side of this crown. And so that's what I did. I just eyeballed it and just took away that material. And I got it that tight just by eyeballing it. Again, you can see I put a little pencil mark here and a pencil mark there, so that every time I put that dowel onto the brim, I was in exactly the same spot. And then I did exactly the same thing as I did with the bottom of the crown. I put the lead on the bottom, on the top of this brim, and I just wiggled the crown on it and started carving away the crown until I got a nice fit. And then when I got a nice fit, I started to, add a few embellishments to the brim. And so in this case, I just cut in a little line here to make it so it'd look like a band around the hat. And I took away the wood above that. I put these little dimples, if you want, on each side of the hat. I had an old work hat that looked like this. And so I just copied it and I dished the top of the crown as well. And then that's what it looked like. And so again, all three pieces are separate. You can continue to play with it. If you're not happy with how thin you've made this brim, then just take the crown off and shave off a little bit more off the brim. You want to remember that you've cut into the bottom of the brim, so don't shave off so much from the top of the brim that you've shaved off all the wood, but you can come down reasonably thin and then just continue to play with the crown until you're happy with it. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to this. And so again, that's what it ended up looking like. All right.
Looks great.
Well, these are fun to practice on, but you should always be prepared to critique your work. And so if I were to do this again, and I just put a little dab of glue on this, holding it together, I could take it apart. If I were to do it again, I would put more of a curve, more of a concave on the bottom of his hat. It would make it look a lot funnier if it was droopier at the front and the back. Even though I have a little bit of a concave curve there, it still looks a little bit too straight for me. I'd prefer to see the back come down a little further, the front come down a little bit further. But it's the method that I wanted. I did this actually pretty quickly without an awful lot of thought, but it was the method that I wanted to show you so that you could give it a try. It's probably tops 20 minutes of carving. You'll find how quickly it goes. It's just a lot of fun. So you can try several of those different styles, and you'll really enjoy doing it. Okay, so that's what I had for you, unless there's any questions.
I find myself with making those type of hat, if I screwed up the bottom, I can just throw away the bottom and start another bottom.
Yeah,
I don't have to change the whole hat. I don't have to make a new hat.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's the beauty of it too. One thing I forgot to tell you when I was doing the eyes, that the bottom eyelid fits into the top of the eyelid. So you always got to make the little corners there. You got to bring that up into that eye. You can see it there.
Yeah.
Because the upper should be bigger than the lower. The lower fits inside the upper.
Yeah, you might see it here too. Can you see it there on the corner? How the
perfect.
Lower eye fits into the upper, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. All right, folks. That's our show, I guess. Unless you've got any questions or comments, we'll sign off and hope to see you again in a month's time.